That's right. Well, now let's leave Earth here. There is just so much going on in space right now. I mean, like almost every week we're reading something new. I mean, the latest was we just had the mostly successful launch of the SpaceX's Falcon Heavy a week or so ago. Did you watch that by any? Did you watch any of that footage?
Cool. And then Spaceman, yeah.
Oh yeah, the Spaceman, yeah, the Spaceman, and also the
Starman,
the simultaneous landing of the booster rockets.
Yeah,
I mean, that was like,
it was so cool.
It was just so cool.
Yeah, and you know, private enterprise, man. You know,
I'm telling you.
That's
okay,
where
well,
it's at.
as cool as putting stuff into space is, you might ask yourself, what are the practical applications for this? Well, Quality Digest editorial director Taryn March delved into that in in her article, Off Earth and on Budget. And one of the most interesting, I think, in terms of commercializing it, is manufacturing in space, actually building stuff in space to be brought back and sold on Earth. Mm-hmm. Now this actually, you say, well, that sounds cool. I mean, wouldn't that be awesome? But then the same question that occurs to me, occurs to Taryn, probably occurs to everybody is, how can manufacturing in space possibly be cost effective? It costs a lot of money to send something to space and then bring it back down to Earth. Mm-hmm. Well, it turns out that with the right product, it certainly could be advantageous, have a cost advantage to it. As an example, Taryn points out that there is a fiber optic cable might fit the bill, not run-of-the-mill fiber optic cable that costs maybe $3,000 to $5,000 per kilogram to produce, but something called Z-blan, Z-B-L-A-N fiber. This is a very special type of optical fiber that can transmit a much broader spectrum of light, which is useful for things like ultraviolet surgical lasers and infrared manufacturing tools. That stuff, Z-blan, can run upward of a few $1 million per kilogram. And making it in space means that you can create longer lengths. There's some issues with the lengths that you can create here on Earth because of gravity and so forth. And also with greater purity. So you can manufacture it in space, greater lengths, greater purity than you can on the Earth. So that may be one of the first commercial items we see manufactured in space. So if you think in terms of very specialized products that have usefulness here on Earth, yeah, sure, make it in space. But if you're going to do that, if we're going to manufacture in space, you're going to need what? Manufacturing space.
That's right.
Manufacturing location. Sorry, manufacturing space. Sorry about that. Okay, so where will that manufacturing plant come from? Where will it be? Well, it might be built by Axiom Space. That word again. Axiom Space is a Houston-based organization, company that plans to build its privately funded commercial space station to replace the ISS, the International Space Station, when the ISS is phased out, which could possibly happen as early as 2024, so not too long from now. Yeah. And then there is mining. Many companies and countries are interested in mining the moon or Mars or asteroids. And of course, where there's money to be made, who shows up?
Lawyers.
Yes! Yes, you got it! Who shows up? It's lawyers, that's right. All of this commercial space stuff has led to some interesting legal discussions. Sure. There is an agreement out there known as the Outer Space Treaty. It just cracks me up. Where there's money, there's lawyers, of course, even in space. All right. The Outer Space Treaty, among other stipulations, says that the moon and other celestial bodies shall be used by all states parties to the treaty exclusively for peaceful purposes. So that raises the question, would a peaceful purpose include extracting minerals for benign manufacturing back on Earth?
You know what that reminds me of? I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, it would be my guess. I interrupt you all the time.
It reminds me of in the early 1500s when Spain and Portugal divided the entire world between them. Right. I believe that Portugal had everything that was west of a certain line, a certain longitudinal line, and then Spain had everything east of it. They did. They divided the entire world.
Yeah, you get the left side, we get the right side.
1510 or something. They said, you have that, we have this.
Right.
Well, it didn't work out so well. But I mean, in any event, that's the small side for you, Bert.
By the way, did you know, we were talking about, did you know that there is a new breed of lawyer called a space lawyer? That's actually, and they when they're coming up in their training, they're focusing on space law.
Well, in space, no one can hear you arbitrate.
Nobody can hear you arbitrate. That's right.
That's what they say.
That's right. By the way, by all accounts I have read, these private ventures are putting things in space for cheaper than government entities have, which is leading to a transition, I think. Space up until recently has been largely about exploration, what's out there, and now it's transitioning to a commercial enterprise where now the goal is, can we make money doing this?
Imagine
so
that.
Commercialization always follows exploration. It's been that way from the beginning of time. You mentioned, 1500s. Well, once you start saying, hey, we can sail across the ocean, hey, what can we do on the other side?
What can we make over there? And same
or
thing.
Bring back or trade.
Precious metals is actually what drove that at the beginning too.
Or spices later.
Whatever, yeah. But it is interesting because you have the schism between the governments doing this, NASA and the Russian Space Agency doing this in the 60s and 70s for purposes really just of information and knowledge, and prestige was a big part of it too. But it makes sense that the commercial piece of this, which is worth, who knows, unknown trillions and trillions of dollars, beyond that, quadrillions of dollars maybe. You mining the moon. But the other thing about that is, also to use an example, when they did find a lot of gold in the New World, the price of gold in the Old World went way down because the supply was so much higher now.
Right.
So it's like, well, what if they find, on the moon 10 times the amount of gold they have on the moon?
Right.
What's that going to do to the price of gold, right? It's like supply and demand, right? So it's like there's always unintended consequences to all this stuff. But yeah, certainly the commercial element of this is what's going to drive it. And the efficiency of organizations that are in it for profit generally is going to be much better than governments who are just doing it for fuzzy reasons of whatever.
Right.
So yeah, you think about NASA versus Elon Musk. Sure, what he did with Falcon was orders of magnitude cheaper than what NASA could have done with that. So,
of course, and as a lot of people point out, he built on the back of what he probably couldn't have done it if NASA hadn't already done a lot of the legwork. But just the same,
it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, interesting stuff.